And we are live. So Jane, nice to connect with you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about where you're coming from, where you're going, what your business is. Just give me a little bit of background on what we're getting into here so I can have a better chance of helping you out.
Yeah, okay. So I played volleyball for 7 years back in Scotland when I was living there. I played up to the Scottish national team, and while I was playing there, I just noticed that there was kind of a lack of a brand that really spoke to me, that was really available, like the best brand that I thought was the best out there, that I would go onto their website, and all their shorts were always out of stock. And the website was just old, it was horrible, or there's loads of websites that sell lots of brands and not just one brand that sells their brand. Like, does that make sense?
It does, yeah. So there's a lot of stores. Like, there's a difference between a store, a marketplace, and a brand, right? So if you look at something like an Etsy, well, an Etsy is a marketplace because you can go in there and open up your own store. Now, you can also have a store like a Walmart that sells a whole bunch of brands, or you can have a brand like Under Armour that sells a wide variety of things, right? And so what you're saying is that you didn't really find a brand or a store that sold the brands that fulfilled your needs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I felt, but I'm not sure if other people felt like that. And that's what I want to find out, is if there's a market for that, because there are these big brands out there, and I'm not sure if people would prefer to go someone that's a smaller brand, like someone more unknown. But I don't know, for me personally, if a brand that I want to become approached me, like a trendy brand that was on social media a lot more often, because I really don't see anything on social media about volleyball brands. I would want to buy from them. I mean, but I don't know if others feel like that. So
right now you're just in the idea validation stage, where you're just trying to figure out if it's the right idea to run with. Tell me about where you want to start with that idea and where you'd like to take it. Because if we're talking volleyball, are we talking like the knee pads? Are we talking the clothing? Are we talking the shoes? Are we talking the the nets and balls? Like, what is it exactly that you're talking about inside of the volleyball world?
I'm thinking clothing, so I guess shorts, t-shirts. I feel like shoes as a first product would be way too difficult to do. I feel like shorts or a t-shirt would be the cheapest, easiest, because I don't have obviously a big budget.
Okay, so now you haven't actually launched this brand yet. Do you have like a name for it? Tell me a little bit about the phase that you're in right now.
Right now I'm just thinking of a brand. I do have a name that I've thought of that I'm quite happy with, but I've not seen any other name like this. It's Spiker Apparel.
Okay.
So
there's and let's just say that you get validation on this idea and you go out and you talk to 100 different volleyball players, and those 100 different volleyball players say, "Oh my God, yes, I would love this," right? And you decide to go forward with it. Let's fast forward a year from now and tell me a little bit about what your, what the best year of your life would look like. Where would the business be at? What would you be doing? What is the, 365 days from now, if you can push like a big red magic button and all of a sudden you're in that dream world. What does that look like?
I would be able to work full time on my business. I would be successful. I don't have like a number or anything that I want to make. I just want to be able to be comfortable and be able to work on this full time.
Okay. Would you have a team of people working with you?
Yes, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely. I like working with people.
And when you say work on this full time, what do you mean work on this full time? Because when you think of like work, you're thinking like there's phone calls and there's emails and there's order fulfilling and there's working with the factories, or there's working with the people under you who are doing that so that you can go out and make press appearances, so that you can go out and be on podcasts, so that you can go and talk to the coaches of national teams. So that, I mean, what do you think that you want to spend your day doing?
I've not actually really thought of that. I thought more as in being able to leave my job right now.
Okay.
And being working this full time, but I've not thought that far ahead.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about what it's going to take for you to leave your job. Okay.
Okay.
What do you need to comfortably earn so that you can give your 2 weeks notice?
What would I need to comfortably earn? I guess what I make right now. So, I mean, I work in hospitality right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like $700 a week.
Okay, so with $700 a week in your pocket, you would be able to go to your day job, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I like that. All right. So your goal is to get to $700 a week. Now, so there's a few steps you're gonna have to take to get there. Okay, one is you're gonna want to make sure that there's at least a market for the thing that you're selling, right? And to do that, I mean, I think that you probably already have enough connections in the industry where.
I do in Scotland, in the UK, but in Australia, I don't.
So you're in Australia right now, correct?
Yeah, so I'm living in Australia now, so I maybe forgot to mention that, but I'm not in Scotland anymore. I've been in Australia for 3 years now.
Well, it sounds like you made the warm decision.
Much better.
Right? Yeah, no, I lived in, I grew up in Canada, and I ended up moving down to Mexico when I was 22. Stayed down there for about 13 years. Now I'm in Portugal, but I spent some time in Nicaragua and Colombia, and I've gone back for short bursts, but Canada's not for me anymore. Once you leave, yeah.
I would love to visit Canada. It's one of the places I want to go. Definitely.
So what brought you down to Australia?
I came out here on a working holiday visa, and then during my first year, I met my partner. And then, I'm now on a partner visa. So. Okay,
cool. So you are in Australia currently for love.
Yes.
Okay. It's important to know these things because it also determines as to like how mobile you are, right? Because if this thing pops and really takes off, but it takes off in the UK, for example. You would have to be able to run it remotely versus moving back to the UK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're basically planning on staying in Australia. No, you're there.
Well, for now, yes. My partner and I have kind of talked about maybe living somewhere else at some point, but just as of now, yes.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Let's talk about verification or validation of your idea then.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really not hard to reach out to people. Most of them put their jobs online and they put their likes online and they put their interests online. And the thing you want to do is approach them with a clear idea of what it is you can offer them. Right?
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to be offering game day jerseys, right? You may be offering, more like practice gear.
Yeah, it'd be more training gear.
Training gear. Okay, cool. Because eventually you can move into the game day jerseys and the game day shorts, and potentially you can move into being a full spectrum creator of gear for this sport. And, maybe there's other sports that you would move into that would kind of fit that area, but if you want to stick like super niche, then you want to specialize super niche, right? And that could potentially mean that you move into, you know, let's just say that you get some good traction enough to quit your job off of your first, you know, off your first product run. Well, maybe your second season is where you're launching things that are a little bit more complicated, that required a little bit more design and research. And then you go into season 5 and you now have sold enough and built up enough of a following that you're getting into a point where you can have yourself the research and development for a good shoe, one that solves a problem that, you know, or potentially a sock, right? Something where it's like there's some sort of a key benefit to the specific sport that you're playing, right? This is what all the big brands, you know, they go really hard on research and development for their individual sports or for the individual needs that they have, right? So, and there's, you know, there are examples of sports specific brands that have, you know, have taken off. What is it for running? I want to say Saucony. I don't know how to pronounce them, but they're just a runner specific runner, right? Okay. You know, and they compete against the likes of Nike, but all of the real, you know, true professionals for years anyways, I don't know if it's still the same case, were using these runners because they were designed for runners, right? Yeah. So if, you know, I mean, if we bring this back into the now, right, well, you know, I think you can probably quit your job in less than a year, and that's, you know, the let's start with what type of budget do you have to actually launch this?
Oh,
are you there?
Not contacted any manufacturers yet or anything like that. I don't want to do that until I can validate the idea. But I mean,
oh, I know. Here's the thing though. Your job as an entrepreneur is to envision the future, right? And you have a certain amount of resources in your hand to be able to do that with, and then there's resources all around you that you can potentially rely on to get to where you're going if it happens to validate. What I'm asking right now is like the resources you have in your hand, you know, it will depend on what the first move is. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're like, hey, I've got $500 to start this thing, all right, that's a different story than I've got $5,000 to start this thing, which is different than I've got $50,000 to start this thing.
Yeah.
Right? So are you in the 500, 5,000, 50,000? Like, what's your, you know, if the, let's just say the idea does validate itself.
Yeah. As of now, I'm in the 5,000 range.
Okay.
Australian dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So when we talk about your first product, what's the product that you think you want to launch with, that you think is the one that is what you would call low-hanging fruit? Okay, so if you come along a big fruit tree, there's fruit way up top that's super hard to get, and then there's just the apple that's like right here, and you can just pick that off. What do you think is like kind of your low-hanging fruit on your product line that you'd like to launch?
I think volleyball shorts.
Shorts. What can you make those shorts? Like, what can you do to them? You know, how can you? Because you can get them designed and built and you know, have a minimum order quantity and everything. What is it that you can make about those shorts that makes them a little different than the competition?
I've read a lot of. I looked at the kind of bad reviews of the shorts, and a lot of them say that they're very thin. Mm-hmm. They're see-through, and a lot of girls don't like that. So I thought I can make a really good quality pair of shorts that are thicker, that are less see-through, basically.
Okay. So you're looking for your first product to be a women's short.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is what you said you've already read a lot of online reviews of people complaining about the shorts, right? Mm-hmm. your next step is going to simply be to reach out to college volleyball girls, high school volleyball girls, the national teams. Potentially you can get a hold of a couple of Olympians, but that's not even that necessary because there's so few of them. The ones that you actually care about, the large populations, are from like middle school on up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The ones where they're starting to get a little bit body conscious, and it's where they start to actually care what they're looking like when they're playing, and not, you probably don't care that much about 6-year-old kids, right? Because they'll just wear whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you get into that middle school on up,
yeah,
then what you're finding is that your base population of players is probably biggest the younger they are, right? I think if you look at the worldwide population of soccer players, the most soccer players are at 5 years old, the second most are at 6 years old, and it's progressively going down and down and down up until you reach like the 45-year-olds, which are like, the burnt out World Cup stars, right? So it's probably a shorter range for the volleyball players, but that means that you have to figure out what age are you actually starting at, and then are these people on social media as well, right? Mm-hmm. And you can start to look at so I think if you're looking towards validation, that you're going to want to go and try and find that key age where they really start to care about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what does that look like to you? What does a process like that look like?
To find out a key age.
Yeah, to find out if they actually care, and at what age they actually care, and if they would be interested in having a better pair of shorts.
I guess contact the school teams, email them. Maybe just kind of go around the local Australian schools here and talk to the team. See if they think there's anything that can be improved about their shorts, or if they experience any problems.
Exactly. There you go. Now you're getting the idea. So just remember that as an entrepreneur, your job is to solve problems. Okay? Mm-hmm. And if you're a good entrepreneur, the problems that you're solving get progressively higher and higher quality. Right? So your first problem is, well, are people actually going to want this? And you can do that by coming up with maybe just a short survey, or going and actually having a conversation with a few girls where it's like, all right, what's your favorite pair of shorts? Why is it your favorite pair of shorts? If you could make that pair of shorts better, what would it look like? What's the problem with most of the shorts you have? What's the biggest problem with shorts? What's your favorite brand? Why is it your favorite brand? Are there any brands you refuse to wear? Right? Just have like a conversation with them, because when was the last time you were a professional volleyball player?
Oh, well, I was in Scotland, so 3 years ago.
Okay, and when was the last time you were a middle school volleyball player?
So 8 years ago.
All right, so you're just slightly out of touch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So get in touch. These are your people, right? If you're going to have a brand, right? If you're going to have this Spiker brand, you are going to have a brand that is a voice for these people, right? You're going to be their tribe leader, right? You're going to give them something to love that's directly connected to the sport that they love.
Yeah.
Right? So that means that you're going to have to get close to them, right? You're going to have to create real authentic relationships with them. You could potentially find that. I mean, you could go to the schools and talk to them, find out when the practices are. Maybe you volunteer to coach at a place, and then you get an entire season of being able to talk to them about all of the different issues that they're having with all of their equipment. Maybe you find the difference between the well-to-do upper middle class versus the we can barely afford our clothes class, right? Maybe, and from there you can determine which area you're going to be able to focus on, because maybe not everyone can afford a $70 pair of Nike shorts that solves all of their problems, and you have to come up with a $30 solution that you can then sell in, you know, bulk to these schools or to these teams, right? If you really want to create a solution, you may not want to create a fashion solution, you may want to create a utilitarian solution, right? Where it's like, if you're finding after your research and you've really connected with this community that, you know, 70% of the girls would love to have those brand new ultra micro fiber super wicked Nike shorts or the Lululemons for volleyball or whatever the hell the case may be, but their mom's not going to spend $70 on these, which means you have to go and find a way to make something just as cool and then sell it for 30. But you may have to do that by selling it for 10 to the teams or 12 to the teams, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's the case, you know, the good news is that you're not selling one at a time off of a website. You're selling maybe 30 at a time each team, right? Yeah. Or you're selling 100 at a time to a school so that they can have, maybe you have a catalog that goes to the school and you can become one of the official suppliers to those catalogs. And then you're hitting more of the market. But the good news is, here's an interesting story, all right? They were looking at opening a coffee shop in Japan years ago. And someone said, look, you can't open a coffee shop here. Everyone here drinks tea. They're not gonna go, right? Well, then how do we do it? Well, it's going to take you about 15 to 20 years. Well, what do you mean? Well, first of all, you have to start with the kids, and you start with things like a coffee bean cartoon, and you have coffee flavored candy, and you get the kids used to it, and, you know, fast forward, and they opened the Starbucks, I don't know, however many years ago, and there was literally a lineup around the corner. Japanese are now fanatics of coffee because it was instilled in them at youth. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you think about that in terms of what does that mean for my brand, you can't think about I need to quit my job when you have to think about how do I make the girls of volleyball fall in love with my brand so that they're giving it to their kids, right? Mm-hmm. You want to start to zoom out into a longer term of thinking. Like, you were in middle school 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago, I was starting my second business, right? Time flies, right? It's been, I'm 38 now, I was 22, so it's been like 16 years since I first moved to a different country, and it just goes by in a snap. If I'd started a brand then versus being an English teacher and backpacking and, you know, just kind of fucking around with life, I probably would have like a really big brand by now, right? And I would have had like a decade and a half. It will go by faster than you think. So the best way to decide what to do tomorrow is know what you want to get done 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you know with like crystal clarity the thing you want to have done 10 years from now, it's real easy to say no to the message that comes in that asks you to put out a fire that's not actually important, right? Mm-hmm. That make sense?
Yeah.
You get to start to make better decisions because you're really clear about what that future is. So what would be an interesting exercise for you is to, if this is the hill you die on, as they say, you know, if it's like you want the volleyball brand, you want the Under Armour or Lululemon, you know, what Lululemon did for yoga pants, you want to do for volleyball equipment. If that's what you really, really want to do, then you have to have such a clear vision of it, like, you know, the year 2028, the whatever city Olympics, we are the official supplier of volleyball, you know, clothing for 4 of the countries, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, all right, this starts to make sense. Well, how do we get to that point? We have to be where they're practicing, and then if we're where they're practicing, then we have to be where they're in tournaments, and then if we're in tournaments, maybe we have to be sponsoring tournaments, and like you get to start to look at other brands and really get an idea about what it is these other brands are doing and how you can like circumvent them and pass them and find the sneak attack so that you can find like there's potentially a big fat empty space where there's a lack of competition that's ready to be disrupted in the volleyball world, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it on the next level, it's not just about the clothes for volleyball. It's like, how do you make volleyball? Volleyball is as simple as soccer in terms of, you know, the equipment requirements, and you see people playing it all over the world. I'm in Portugal, I see people playing it on the beach. I'm in, you know, Mexico, I see people playing it. I mean, wherever I've gone, I've seen people playing volleyball. It's kind of like a vertical soccer, right? It's like a hand soccer, right? And you see the Brazilians playing it, dude, they play like they kind of play soccer volleyball where they're like kicking it over the net. It's insane. But what I'm saying is that, you know, a brand has the opportunity to really advocate for things, and especially a sport brand, right? Mm-hmm. Nike with their Just Do It campaign, oh my God, like the reason that golf is so popular right now is Nike. The reason that basketball is so popular right now is Nike, right? They brought these stars on, and they saw the power in a star and the ability to make, man, there's a book you have to read. It's called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And Phil Knight's Shoe Dog.
Okay.
And he's the founder of Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's his autobiography, and it goes through the story of Nike. You want some perspective on what a global sports-based brand is like? Oof, that one's a killer. You're going to like it. And at that point, you can start to decide whether you see yourself as a person or whether you're willing to do what's required to be the person that runs a brand like that. Right? Mm-hmm. Because it's very different running a brand that sells 100 t-shirts a week out of your house or 100 pairs of shorts a week out of your house, and being a brand that advocates for a sport and tries to lift that sport on its shoulders and shows it to the world, right? Those are two very different beasts, and you have to figure out, how do you actually want to spend your days, right? Are you going to be able to be brave enough and strong enough to run with this and, you know, give volleyball a new light to the world?
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very scary, but it's very exciting.
It can be a little scary, and that's okay, right? I just want you to be open to those possibilities because it makes your decision making so much easier, right? Mm-hmm. Once you know that I'm going to do this. This is who I'm going to be, right? There's a difference between what you're going to do and who you're going to be, right? So. Actually, LeBron James has like an alter ego when he goes on the court, like the Black Mamba, and he's not even LeBron. I think that's how it goes. Anyways, I'm not big on basketball, but like a lot of these star athletes, they have a different personality when they're on the court because it's game time, right? A lot of big entrepreneurs have a different personality when they're in front of their people or when they're in negotiations because that's game time. That's when you are who you have to be, and quite often, you know, the real you. Like, think about it this way. I think it's Katy Perry is like seriously introverted, and you know, there's major rock stars that right before they go on stage they throw up with fear, right? But then they go and they put on that face to become that other person that the world sees.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a part of that is important to kind of understand, and if you know that's where you're going, if you're so certain that's where you're going, you're going to find the personality to make it happen.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's talk about how you quit your job. Let's get into that. What are the specifics of how you quit your job? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, do you have an idea of a price that you would like the shorts to be at? Have you looked at any sort of pricing at all? Have you figured any of this out?
No, not yet. No, I've not contacted any suppliers or anything. So.
Cool. So That's fine. I've got a buddy who started a clothing line for bodybuilders, right? So he went real niche. And what he did was he went through, fashion generally works in seasons, right? So he did different, like he launched, season 1 and then season 2 and then season 3. And then in each of those seasons, it was like the first one was, I think it was one product actually. It was just a straight t-shirt, right? And then season 2, he went to hoodies and tanks, and he had a couple of things like lightly designed. And then season 3 is where he started to go into really, now that he garnered enough of a connection with the community, where he saw people were wearing the shirts, and his Instagram was starting to pop and all this kind of stuff. At that point, he launched the more designed stuff, where he could put more effort into it. And I talked to him once. He was flying to Pakistan to look at clothing manufacturers, and he was asking me when I was in Colombia if I knew anyone. So I think I threw a couple contacts his way. And I know he came down to Colombia actually to look at factories as well. I wasn't in the same city as him, but that's where he brought his business so that he could scale up without having to invest a shit ton of money at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So, what you may want to consider is, what does season 1 look like, and who are you going to be selling to? Okay, that's the big thing you have to answer right now. And for me, that market is going to be available in like one of two spaces. It's either going to be that the schools have the opportunity to offer this to their people, or that you find that there are enough, fashionista, influencer type people that really like what you're doing and that they're excited about, and you can launch it directly through Instagram, right? So it's either direct to consumer or a wholesale business. It's going to be one of those two. That's going to be something you're going to have to figure out. Okay? So you have to get to $700 a week worth of sales before you can go to your job, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So to get to $700 a week, if you just do some real quick calculations here, let me just open the old phone. All right. So let's just say, what do you think is an average price for a pair of shorts right now?
Probably $40.
$40. Okay, so you're going to, if you're selling them direct to consumer, you're probably going to be paying about 10. Maybe they're going to have to get free shipping, so you're probably up to about 15, which means that you would have about $25 worth of profit if you're selling. So that let's just go with one example of 700 divided by 25 equals, that is 28 pairs a week times 52. You'd have to sell 1,456 pairs in a year to replace your income.
Okay.
If you can make $25 per pair. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that means that you have to sell on average 4 a day. I don't know if that's gonna,
okay.
Oh, that's not showing up at all. Wow, I got to do something about this.
That?
Yeah. So 4 pairs of shorts a day replaces your job. Mm-hmm. If you're selling them through Instagram, if you're selling, does that make you smile?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, here's the fun part, is that if you're on a partner visa, then you probably have, I'm guessing there's going to be access to do things like start a small business, potentially small business loans. There could be grants. There's potentially grants out of Scotland if you were to base your business in Scotland, so that you could then, have, even if you have external manufacturing and everything, if you call it a Scottish brand, there's a lot of times there's grants. There are female grants. There are athlete grants for starting businesses. There's also the idea, thing is, if you can get this first round popping, right, and you can see that there's traction, and you can see that you have a path forward to build a following or to build a customer base. If you happen to go wholesale, if you hit, now if you hit schools, it's going to be a completely different thing, because you're probably going to be making like $2 or $3 a pair, right? So for $2 or $3 a pair, well, maybe you hit $5 a pair. Let's be nice and say $5 a pair, okay? So you got 700 divided by $5 a pair. That is, you need to sell 140 pairs a week now, right? And then you times that by 52 weeks. That's 7,280 pairs, right? So divided by 365, that brings you down to 20 pairs a day. If you have an average in a school of 50 people buying, then you have to get a school every 2.5 days.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So you can see how the math works once you figure out margin-ish, right? You're not going to know anything until you start to talk to your manufacturers, until you start to determine where you're actually going to be selling, who you're actually going to be selling to, what the problem you're going to be selling, right? But you can quit your job on 4 pairs of shorts a day. Now, here's the cool thing is that you may want to start with a fashionista brand and then have an offering that goes to schools because you already have some sort of a basis in the market, right? Or you may talk to a coach and, that coach, she says, look, you get me the shorts that actually fix these girls' problems, right? I mean, I know that there's a problem with shorts that when the girls bend over to pick something up, they come up too much a lot on these shorts. Maybe that's what's that?
They ride up, yeah. I read that. There's a lot of that as well.
They ride up, which means basically every time you go to pick up the ball, you're showing your ass to the world, which is not great for middle schoolers, right?
No.
So, if there's a way that you could find, this is where we talk about having a unique value proposition, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to fix every problem the first time if you can fix one problem that affects a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? And, if we talk about, just the general sexualizing of athletes,
mm-hmm.
then maybe that's an issue that you could solve in your first round, and then maybe that's one of those hot button issues that could potentially if they still look cute but they're not being as sexualized, then because you also don't want ugly shorts, right? You don't want to go back to the 1950s where it's like the baggy buns with the elastics around their calves. No, I mean, you don't want to go to that, but I mean, I'm spitballing ideas here, right?
Yeah. No, I did read about that a lot of the sexualizing of girls and why girls wear different uniforms from boys in volleyball, and why is that? And yeah, I did. That is a hot topic, definitely.
It is, but there's the other thing of like, girls want to look cute, right? They don't want to look like boys.
Yeah.
Right. So is there some sort of a happy medium where maybe it's like one of those spandex bike short inserts on them, and then they're short shorts. So I don't know. I mean, look, there's you're the expert here. You're the volleyball player. You're the one who had to bend over to pick up 1,000 balls. Right? So I think you're probably going to be able to solve this problem better than me.
Yeah.
Right. But I want you to think about what can be the problem that you can solve, right? And like I said, you don't have to solve every problem if you can solve one problem. And if you can solve one problem that's on the minds of many people, suddenly you're selling your 4 pairs a day, no problem. And you scale it up to 10 pairs a day, and then you're, over doubling your income. And then you have the opportunity to write yourself out a business plan and potentially bring on a partner who's maybe like a clothing designer, or, I mean, you can start to kind of see forward, right? Mm-hmm. You just have to get that boot of, I need to pay the rent off your throat. Right? Once you don't have to worry about paying the rent anymore, life becomes a whole lot easier, right? Once you don't have to think about the brand that you're buying at the grocery store because of price, and you can think about it in terms of like, does this fit my new vegan granola munching personality type? I mean, it's like we talk about higher quality problems, right? As you grow, your problems are going to continue to get higher and higher in quality, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where you're at right now, okay? What you need to do right now is you need to figure out a way to either sell 4 pairs of shorts a month or get a school every 2.5 days. Mm-hmm. And you need to figure out whether you're going to go path A or path B. Don't go for both.
Okay.
Okay? You can investigate both, but there's a saying that I really like, which is you can't do everything, but you can do anything. So the way to get everything done is to do one thing after the other, right? And, the idea that you can do anything really is true, because it's just a matter of phone calls and conversations and, whether it's words coming out of your mouth or words coming out of the keyboard or whatever the case may be, there's nothing out of this world about this. People start brands like this every day. It's just, are you the person that's going to be able to start the brand and make it work, right? And there's
confidence, a lot of it.
Well, confidence is part of it, right? Confidence is that. Well, let's talk a little bit about confidence. What you feel you're lacking confidence in this?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I feel I'm only 21, so sometimes I feel a bit like I'm a bit older. People that have more experience in this would look at me and be like, "Oh, she's just young and just thinks she wants this." But I guess I don't know. I've never done anything like this before, but it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to have my own business.
Good. So here's what I'm gonna say. Fuck the haters. Fuck them. Fuck the haters. I want you to. Do you swear? Are you offended by swearing?
Yeah, no, I'm not. All
right. I want you to repeat it with me. Fuck the haters.
Fuck the haters.
Exactly. Fuck the haters. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you're 21 or 31 or 51, okay? You're always going to be too young, too stupid, too old, not enough experience, too much experience in the wrong places. Fuck the haters. Okay? The whole world is surrounded by this need to pull you back down to their level. And as you start to go up in levels, you're going to see that resistance. And you just have to keep repeating it to yourself. Fuck the haters. That's it. Right? Because here's the truth. Okay? The truth is that when you buy from a factory, you are their customer. They need to treat you with respect. If they don't, you go to another one. Okay?
Yeah.
If somebody buys something from you, they are your customer. Right? You need to treat them with respect. If you don't, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? This is a world of commerce. We've all been sold this lie that if you don't have the degree, or if you don't have the this thing, or if you don't have the that thing, like the world's richest people are dropouts. Yeah, they're really smart dropouts, but they're still dropouts. Right? I mean, Jeff Bezos is now the richest man in the world. That dude was not a book salesman or an online entrepreneur. He was a guy that worked with numbers in Wall Street. He decided to start selling books because they were there was the right number of them available, which made it hard to sell them all in a store, and they were the right size for shipping. He saw the future and he made it happen. That's all it is. All right? So what you have to start doing is, if you are lacking confidence, you have to start surrounding yourself with the voices that are going to allow you to believe in yourself. Okay? That are going to give you the bravery. So when I say read Shoe Dog, it's the story of a dude who did it. Right? When if you need to go on and listen to Gary Vaynerchuk talk about, how to do digital marketing in the new era, if you want to be reading blogs from Neil Patel, which are going to talk about the basics of Instagram advertising, if you need to, you need to just bathe yourself in the world of, I'm not an employee, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay?
Yeah.
I employ myself currently to pay my rent, but I am an entrepreneur. This is the thing you should be repeating yourself, right? You don't care about becoming a manager in the hospitality industry. Fuck that. That's an employee position, right? You care about having a business. You care about having a brand. You care about helping girls and women feel good about the sport that they're playing, right? you care about that, and that's where you put your energy, and that's where you put your time, and that's where you spend time with people. Like, you're the, what is it they say, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around, right?
Yeah.
So here's a little life hack on that, is surround yourself with your audiobook time or with your podcast time, right? That's where you're surrounding yourself with the people that aren't necessarily at hand's reach, right? They might not be in your life right now, but they can be in your ears. They can, they can be in your books. Okay? So that's the phase 1, and then phase 2 is, okay, well, if you're really into the volleyball world, then you have to get into the volleyball world, right? Are you going to volunteer in your spare time? Are you going to, give girls camps? I've got this friend, and she's a fanatic of mountain biking, right? She was a skier for years. She was a professional skier, got into the Canadian team, but I mean, skiing beats up your body when you're doing moguls and stuff like that, right? So she got into mountain biking, and she became a fanatic of mountain biking. So now what does she do? She runs girls camps where she teaches girls about self-confidence and mountain biking. Right?
So cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if, like, look, there's the idea that you want to have this brand because you saw that e-commerce is a way and all of this kind of stuff, right? It's not for everybody, okay? It can be a little lonely if you don't do it right, because at that point you become a keyboard warrior and an Instagram princess that is basically lonely because you spend all of your time with virtual people.
Yeah.
Right? And, it can be hard to scale that up to a level where you can start to afford your first employees, where you can start to, look at actually having a team built around you, and it's not necessarily a short process, right? If you don't have a couple of people around you that are really rah-rah-rahing you, and that you get to go down and, you go to the local meetup for entrepreneurs and you're talking to other entrepreneurs all the time, it can be a little lonely, right? Yeah. So, if you need to do something else to supplement, to keep your love alive for the thing that you're doing, make it in the same arena, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. I don't know anyone that wants to be an entrepreneur or wants to have an online business. So I do need to reach out to people in my area.
Yeah. Well, what area are you in right now? What part of Australia are you living in? Perth. Okay. So Perth actually has a decent startup community. Okay. If you go to meetup.com, if you reach out to the people on that Start and Scale group that you're part of, if you go out and you actually, proactively find people that are doing something similar to what you're doing, just to have coffee with them and just to talk about this, what we're doing right now. You could be doing this 3 times a week with other entrepreneurs, right? You could be having this type of a conversation where it's like you get to the point where you're encouraging them, they're encouraging you. You're saying, hey, I'm having problems with this type of a contractor. What would you do? And you're spitballing ideas back and forth. There's something that we call a mastermind. So what a mastermind is you have mind 1 and mind 2. Right? This is you and me, okay? Now, the mastermind is what happens when we speak, and it's this third mind that never would have existed if we hadn't spoken, okay? I never would have had a lot of these thoughts. You never would have had a lot of these thoughts if we had not connected, right?
Yeah.
So what you can go out and do is you can proactively search for masterminds. These people that you want to have the second mind with to create that third mind, because there's a lot of inspiration in that and there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
So it's just be very careful of your energy and who you're spending your time with, and just be aware of the fact that as you go up in level, the people that you previously thought were interesting aren't that interesting, and the new people that you think are interesting, you may have to reach to get in.
Yeah.
Right? So it's and there are resources, right? Eventbrite, meetup.com, Facebook events. These are all places where entrepreneurs, even if you have to get good at speaking in public because you want to be able to appear on podcasts and appear confident, okay, go to Toastmasters, right? If you want to learn how to write, okay, cool, go to a sales writing workshop, right?
Yeah.
If you feel that you need to learn how to sell, okay, cool, go to go to a sales seminar, one of those free ones, just so you can kind of get the feel and see what all these people are like, and put yourself in uncomfortable situation after uncomfortable situation until you become comfortable with discomfort. And you're gonna learn so much. It's there in Perth, there's probably fashion designer workshops where fashion designers get together and just be a wedding crasher. Just jump in, just be like, hey, I'm interested in this thing. I've never done it before, and you'd be surprised. Like if I came to you and said, hey, Jane, I feel kind of stupid, but I never got good at volleyball. What are the tricks? What are the secrets? Right?
Yeah.
Would you say, get out of here, I'm not going to help you? No, you would say, well, all right, let me show you some stuff, because people love to share what they love.
Yeah.
Right?
They love to. Yeah.
So go to the people that love to share what they love and make sure those things are things that you're interested in getting good at.
Yeah.
And just dive in. Dive in, put your nose to the grindstone, as the cheesy old saying goes, and if you lift your head up in 5 years, you'll be surprised at what you've accomplished. Just don't quit, right? It's a hustle. It's a lot of hours and it's a lot of effort, but if you take care of the energy and you plan it out properly, you do the right, steps, hell, you can even do half of the wrong steps and still make it, as long as you have the persistence to not give up.
Yeah. I think that's a huge thing, connecting with people around me here, because I love talking about it, and to talk to people that want to do the same thing, it really would help me a lot. It would build my confidence too.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because there's in the world of multi-level marketing, like the Amway and all that kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's I've been pitched on it so many times, and the one thing that I say to people is, I'm not willing to have the same conversation 1,000 times. And that's kind of what, when you start a business like yours, you almost have to be willing to go out and have the same conversation 1,000 times, right? And you get really good at having that conversation. And like I did it for years with English teaching, where if you're teaching a certain module, a certain type of grammar structure, for example, you have that same conversation. You might have that same conversation 3 times in a week or 5 times in a week. I couldn't imagine having to do it 3 times a day with something like multi-level marketing, where you just try to get people to sign on so that you can earn something off of them so that they can earn. No, right? But if I had a brand and I knew that I had to go to 100 schools to close 5 of them, and that those 5 schools would be enough for me to quit my job, you're damn right I'd be willing to have that conversation 1,000 times. I go have that conversation 1,000 times because that means 50 schools signed up. And maybe as I get better at it, I figure out the ways in so that I can, up that to 10 out of 100 instead of 5 out of 100, right? But you have to have, you have to be willing to do. There's a saying that if you're willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do, you'll live a life that other people can't even dream of living.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm sure there were days you didn't want to practice, right? I'm sure there are days when it was a slog, but you went in and you did the work, and it got you to, national level.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship is no different. There's a reason why entrepreneurs are such big fans of sports, right? It's war, it's a game, it's practice, it's hustle. So you're already well trained to be an entrepreneur, and if anyone tells you differently, fuck the haters.
Thank you, Mark. Love it, brilliant.
All right.
Okay.
So we're almost coming to a close on this call. Is there anything that you feel is missing from you having like this big picture, I'm going to tear the world apart attitude you need to have to go and get this? Is there anything that's missing right now?
No, not really. I think I just need to do one step at a time, and then it won't be so scary.
Yeah. Exactly. So what's your first step?
First step is, I guess I'll talk to schools and talk to people that are in the age group that I'm aiming for.
Wrong.
See how they feel, what they think. No?
That's your second step. Your first step is to know what you want to have in 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your first step is to clarify the long term, because then you get to start making better decisions about the short term.
Yeah.
Okay? So take some time and get excited about it, right? Like, we're told our entire lives to like think smaller and like don't dream about that kind of stuff. That's unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
It's not if you're willing to do the work. It really isn't. So take a little bit of time and dream big. Talk with your partner about it. Talk with a couple, maybe you have a chance to sit down with like a big time entrepreneur and just be like, hey, can we just have a coffee? I just want to like see, what is it actually like running something like this, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, just spend a little bit of time to really define what you want your future to look like. Crystallize it, clarify it, right? And then the things that you do on a daily basis, it's not going to matter if you hit a pothole and another pothole, and then you have to change your tire out, and then you have to, then your engine blows, and then you need a new exhaust. And it doesn't matter, because you're going to keep repairing the car and you're going to keep moving forward, and you know where that destination is, right?
Yeah.
And like the one thing I will leave you with is that you can cross an entire country in the dead of night with nothing but a map and headlights. You only have to see a couple 100 feet in front of you as long as you know where the destination is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I love your analogies. They're brilliant.
Awesome.
Okay.
So that is about it then. I think you are ready to go. I think you are ready to make this happen, and I can't wait to hear what happens with it. I think I'm going to send you a recording of this so that you can watch it again and again. Okay, this can be a little piece of you seeing your future. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me now that we're done, how was it? What was the experience like?
Today, talking with you?
Yeah.
I was very nervous. Like before, I'm really sweaty. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. But it's been good. It's been really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling? You think you'd be able to do this?
Yeah, I think I can do this. Yeah.
I know you.
do.
I know you can. You already did it. Look, you had the person that was driving you in the past to keep you going and keep you in your peak physical form and made sure that you practiced every day. There was a team and there was a coach, right? There was someone who was like kind of kicking you in the ass. Have you ever coached?
Sorry?
Have you ever coached?
No.
No? Okay. You should probably start to look at what makes a good coach, and you're going to have to be your own coach here until you get going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are a person who is coachable, which I'm guessing you are because you're an athlete, right? Then as you progress, you may want to have someone. If you find yourself slipping, right? If you find yourself slipping, you can ask people to coach you. Right? They don't have to necessarily be a business coach. If you know the things you have to do and you just some people just don't have the discipline to get that shit done, right? If you just find that, the fear is slipping in and you don't have the discipline, then you can set out, an interesting example is I was going through a hard time. I lost a business, right? And I was going through a hard time, and my mom is like one of the best people in the whole world. Okay, she's amazing. And, I was starting to business coach other people, and I wasn't doing the things I needed for my own business. So I actually gave my mom a list of the things that I was supposed to be doing, and she would call me whether I was in Nicaragua or in Colombia or wherever, and she's like, have you got your head out of your ass? You getting your shit done? So she would actually coach me without actually knowing how to be a bit, and it worked, right? Like, it's just, if you have someone who can kind of ride you and make sure that you're not slipping and go, oh, it's okay. Oh, that's fine, right? You can't accept second-class behavior from yourself, and you can't surround yourself with people who are going to expect you to behave in a second-class manner.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be world-class if you're going to make this work. So do what you need to do to stay world-class. All right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Kick-ass. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to send you a little thing in like a day where just a chance for you to answer a few questions on a quick video. And so what I'm doing, the reason I'm having these recorded is because these stories are going to be shared, okay? And they're going to, and basically they're going to be allowing other people who may be in your kind of situation, in your type of a boat, to see that, a lot of people think that you need a year of business coaching, or that you have to sign up for these long contracts, or it's ridiculously expensive or whatever. Nah, man. There's people like me, and I've got a few of them in line, and we want to scale up a business where it's like a one-shot deal where you get it. You just get it. Because it's like business, there's like an architecture behind it. And once you understand how the building is built, it's real easy to to kind of show the math behind it and show the basic fundamentals behind it, so that people who don't understand it can get it really quickly. That's what this has been. So that's probably why it's a little enlightening, more than what you expected, right? Just kind of, because there's these basic fundamentals of market distribution and belief systems and et cetera, that people can use, and that's what this whole thing is about. So I just wanted to thank you for being willing to share your story, and I will do my best to portray you in the best light possible. All right.
Make me look good, Mark.
I will do my bestest. All right, Jane.
Great.
Hey, I had a blast. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
See you soon.
Bye.